It's just the kind of nature of Infinity and something that honestly they've kind of lost. And well, there's your Monkey King, bam. That's so sad because it's so smart because that's what he wants. That's his hero. I think with Infinity not going for it here, I'm a little sad. I'm not gonna lie because now you are gonna see him in that situation where what is he gonna be comfortable with? What is he gonna want to take up versus Parker yet again here? I just hope he can be comfortable farming whatever it is. Not saying they need to pick like a PL or something, but I feel like we need to see this game go late. Otherwise, we're just going to see Lumiere with his back against the wall yet again. Whoa.
Been given away just yet with that pick, but that's not a hero we're that used to seeing. The Lich, well, I mean, I suppose it's not that bad, right? It gives you some soft lockdown. I suppose you have the Sinister Gaze if you're looking for something a little bit harder, and I can see a scenario where maybe Chain Frost into Soulbind can do some work, but it's a lot of sort of ifs for the Lich here versus just sort of nailing down guaranteed contribution.
And Infamous just have the most broken heroes in the patch. It's and Infinity have Lich. And Lich is cool, which especially with the Ice Spire, actually does a lot of damage. I mean, you could just solo kill any hero, to be honest, aside from maybe the Medusa, with the Ice Spire, because it actually is kind of terrifying what you can do with that hero, but fairly niche. This is a niche hero pick. It is going to be a 4 Grimstroke then, and then the Lich is going to have to be taken up as the 5, I can only imagine, but I do wonder if they're just going to try to really combo as much as humanly possible with this Grimstroke ulti and then kind of hope for the best here. Because at the same time, looking at Infamous's draft, they've got Kato with Medusa and Pango. They've got a CK running in, Chaos Bolting, really getting a kill on whoever he lands up on. I think that's where Infinity are still kind of hard pressed here in the draft. They need to find something to counter this Pango in the mid lane. Might be step 1 here, unless they do want to kind of keep that flexibility. They do have last pick. We could see them pick their carry and then keep their offlaner then blind into the final phase here. And yeah, that's what they will do. And Bloodseeker is great. I do like that hero. That's a hero that really started getting a lot of speed in the later stages of Stockholm. Really terrifying carry. Has no bad talents, really. When you get to this point where you can actually farm on Bloodseeker. The 25, which is the old Aghanim Scepter now, and the new one's not so good, but the old one being the 2 rupture charges is brutal, and we've seen what Bloodseeker can do versus both CK and Pango. Not to mention, hey, if you're going to pop Stone Gaze whenever I rupture you, that's your 1-for-1. I think now what Infinity need to do, they need one more hero to force that Stone Gaze to happen, and then they can disengage, and then they can walk away, and then they run in there with their BKBs, then they restart the fight. But right now, they need to create a reason for this Medusa to be scared. Right now, I honestly don't think they have enough. They need some high damage dealer, and I think that's where Infamous, yet again, though, they're right on the money with these bans.
Lena and the Tiny being taken away, and well, that was actually going to lead me into a question I wanted to ask you. Looking at the Infinity lineup, ET, do you think that they're more likely to try PP on this DK a second time, or have them shift it into Mariano's hands in the offlane?
I feel like it's going to be a DK offlane. That's my gut. Even though DK versus Pango is, I want to say, maybe slightly favored for the DK just because you can DK stun him and just kind of deny the creeps. I think Pango might have a little bit too much magic damage where he can just play the creep wave as opposed to playing the lane where he can just nuke out with both his spells and then kind of ignore you, which is a situation I don't think you want if you're Infinity. At the same time, though, looking at the other offlane options, I feel like all of your S tier heroes are kind of taken out already. If Mars was available, then maybe that's where we'd see them go. But okay, they
Hmm.
get Pit Lord. And that is a very obnoxious hero to deal with. But that is also a kind of a question mark. How are we laying in this Infamous? They've got a few too many cores, at least from the average onlooker. Are we gonna get a 4 Pango? Is that what's happening?
Uh, yeah, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Alone could play the mid Coddle, the mid Pango. Hell, he could take the Underlord mid too, and I think you'd be sort of comfortable with him on it, but I'm not really sure what they want their matchups to look like right now.
Parker's Medusa. That's what we know.
Yeah.
Parker's Medusa. Yeah, it is it's a little bit interesting, honestly. Maybe they feel possibly countered on the CK with the Bloodseeker pickup, so we could see that no longer be your offlaner. Maybe Michael decides to pick it up, and then A takes the coddle, and then Ember last overall. Well, a secondary initiator, a damage dealer, someone to actually use that ink spell, something the Viper wasn't able to use in the previous game. And yeah, it will be good.
It's
Actually,
a
A.
it's a
Oh,
5 CK. Okay.
hey, A's known for this though. A's known for his melee fives. He's known for his Abaddons, his Clockworks. He's in that same realm, you know. I mean, sure. I do wonder though, and maybe if we get an interview, we'll have to ask him what they feel countered by with this CK, because CK is a hero that's picked up so much in the early phases. As long as we're still on this patch, he's got to continue to get picked up first phase. But I do wonder what was the last nail in the coffin here for the CK. If it was just okay, Bloodseeker's in the game, we don't want to play Bloodseeker or CK in any capacity versus that hero, or I do wonder what the changeup was, because that is very strange. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just, I mean, don't want to be biased, but now I would really love to be able to ask Infamous if they do take this series, what's up with that? Because yeah, like you said, it feels like a change that I don't know if it's going to hurt Infamous all that much, but I don't know if it was a necessary one either. But as you said, A is known for this. You even want to take it even further back in terms of not just melee fives, but former cores in the 5 position. He was the one who was running that 5 gyrocopter for a little bit on a previous iteration of Infamous. So he's got the flexibility, and you've got a hero in CK that has forced movement and a stun, so you can do some things with it.
Yeah, only thing you do have to be careful of when you are infamous is if they do start to fall behind level wise, especially back to the gyro like you highlighted, if you start to fall behind and you don't get those early levels, you don't get the ball rolling, you kind of just slink back to your side of the map here. And at the very least in this support duo, both the CK and the Coddle are very level hungry. They want their own space. They want to kind of do their own thing every once in a while. They want to take over the empty lanes. And without that, well, you do have a CK5, you know, a CK5 with a that's level 4, 12 minutes into the game is not really going to be able to accomplish a whole much here. And that's also where you do wonder how he's actually going to be able to scale because, well, at the end of the day, if they do kind of just end up in their base, you know, we get a 60-minute game, you do have a 5 CK. Maybe A's the carry now. Maybe the captain is done playing support. Who knows? But at the same time, they've got a lot of great heroes. They've got a very scary draft. I think Oscar is going to have a great time on the Pit Lord. Has so much base damage versus the Bloodseeker. Not to mention just always being kind of a thorn in his side. And at the same time, on Infinity's side, get to see what this Lich is actually able to do. I'm very excited to see what Prada is going to be able to manage here if he does kind of rush the Aghanim Shard, just because it does give you that guaranteed solo play, or if we see him go for the more typical route on Lich where you're just kind of doing the support item thing.
I just might just come down to where Infinity stand around that 15-minute mark. If they're in the lead, maybe the Lich just decides, yeah, let's go for it. If they're behind, maybe more utility or more conventional support items will be the play for him. So very interested to see if Infinity are playing with a lead or not around that point. Is gonna get this one started, and well, I don't really know what this lane is, ET. You know, you've got Medusa and CK in the same lane. I mean, CK can do things with his stun, but I feel like Parker's just not gonna want to get involved 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and well, if there's one thing that can be said about the CK, his level 1 chaos bolts are still obnoxious, so maybe that's a part of it. But at the same time, the more damage he can trade out, and Bay's doing a really good job of just trading onto Mariano, especially because he knows that there isn't the Dragon's Blood. It is just free space. It's just free time. Nice deny from Mariano, but as we always talk about with the Medusa, you're going to be pushing the wave in. You're going to be Mystic Snaking for last hits. If you're not, then you're probably playing wrong. And he's going to get farm, but it's also where I wonder if A is going to look to play more in his small camp, because that's the name of the game with this Medusa. As oh my goodness, that
That's
snake.
nasty.
One more.
Or
Doesn't get it. And now
Yannick might
both.
actually turn. Okay, got your dancing shoes on? Doesn't really look like it. Nope, he's just gonna sit there and wait for death. So trying to do a little bit too much. Maybe if you got level 2 on the CK, the Reality Rift can finish that play, but now Now this kind of sucks for Parker. He used a lot of health going into that engagement, so he's got to be maybe a little bit wary of the harassment on his own end until his support returns.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit awkward for sure, but it's also more damage, more thirst to give over to your opposing side of the map. I mean, we'll have to see, because I don't know how much better this lane actually gets. I think this is going to be just kind of Parker snaking smartly and then hoping for the best. A wants to get those play, but also just
Okay.
hit level 2.
There's the ink swell. That means A's got to fall back, and well, at least you can always be annoying with that combo. Parker was able to get a full salve earlier on, so the lane should really just kind of stabilize quite nicely there. Meantime, though, let's take a swing on up to the top lane, see how Lumiere is doing here up against Oscar. This is going to be, at least last hit-wise, kind of hotly contested. Lumiere has to be right in the middle of the lane, and got an Underlord on the other side who's not going to be able to, or not going to be willing to sort of just fall back without doing some damage himself. So I don't know if they're ever going to be able to really put any significant pressure onto Lumiere, but if they can make last hitting even the slightest bit more difficult for them, should work in their favor. As Michael, yeah, this is the only sort of downside of this maneuver. If you use the Sinister Gaze to set up for the Blood Right, there is no other cancel, and the Coddle knows it and just walks away. TP's away, rather.
Yeah, it's free. It's pretty easy. And this is a lane where, unfortunately, actually eating a lot of damage on Oscar, but it is kind of hard to make the trade happen. But with the pure damage, I feel like they might just get him. It's really close, but yeah, that blast, it evens things out. But if he's not able to stick on top of these heroes, Lumiere should just be able to heal right back up. And with the salve from Prada, he's not even playing around. Prada's inventory is pretty funny looking.
Oh my god. Wait a minute, hold on. Prada, you gotta stack these up. Oh man, this is, the OCD's kicking in. Those are improperly stacked.
And you know what that means? He had quite a few mangoes I delivered to him at the same time. So there's only one way that you get 3 stacks of mangoes like that.
Oh my god. I mean, he knows what he's about, and it got them the kill, so all's well that ends well, but is the courier bringing out something to him that's not mangoes? There we go. Salving some tangos, so still not even remotely close to getting, you know, boots or anything that's not regen, but if you're Prada right now, you don't need anything that's not regen. Your job's to keep Lumiere alive and set up for the occasional kill attempt, so he's doing that quite nicely to this point.
Yeah, I'm looking across the board. Infinity are kind of rocking all the lanes right now. They're just sitting arguably at the top 3 last hit-wise right now. They're kind of just doing okay. I think this is a lot better than their previous start. They don't really have to be too scared. Unfortunately, though, yeah, that's where A just snuck up on the Grimstroke. But it's trades across the map. There's a lot of HP being traded, but Michael, I think, is going to go down top.
Michael will fall. Can Oscar get Prada in exchange? Not really. Meanwhile, mid, PP loses that fight, but just barely, alone on about 25 HP. That was actually without the Rolling Thunder, too. He just sort of wins the man fight, so if you're Infamous, I think you take that. You kill for your mid laner, and now, since it was Michael who died, comes right back to mid, tops off the bottle, gives him a salve, hits him up with the chakra magic as well, so the Pangolier, it's like the fight never even really happened outside of the gold he picked up for it.
Yeah, and up until that point, alone, he's cheeky, but you know it's the max swash build that's just very obnoxious to deal with. And Alone is just gonna keep the pressure on because yeah, Michael is just hovering around here. It's because the wave is pushing in here, and PP, oh, this is all for the 6-minute rune.
He needs to make sure he doesn't get turned on, though. He's going to Reality Rift to try and create some space. They do still get the Rolling Thunder hits, but Yannick was the one to grab the rune. Alone, though, really? This is not an easy kill. He is going to back off of it. Meanwhile, A, not able to back off of that. The Lich comes in, hits him with the blast, and are able to find themselves a kill. Now Alone has to be kind of careful. He is going up against 3 heroes here. He still goes for the Swashbuckle, but puts it at an angle where he might be able to walk away. No. Prada's able to hit him with that Sinister Gaze. They'll pull him back in. PP jumps forward with the Remnant. Alone tries for the damage mitigation with the Shield Crash, but it's only level 1. Infamous maybe trying to do a little bit too much on that play, ET. They end up losing 2 instead.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to Infinity getting a few more early kills, both of their supports being level 4. I mean, and it's the issue that kind of highlighted with A on this CK, where you don't have too many levels to play around with. And starkly, you look at Parker, who's sitting at level 6. He has been giving all that soul XP over to his Medusa, but it depends on how much you're really going to feel the cost of your early game, because it doesn't feel like he's really a hero right now. It feels like he's going to struggle maybe a little bit more here as there's a little bit of a support battle, but yeah, back bottom.
He's trying to
Gonna
turn
say,
onto A, and they got him. Parker doesn't have enough damage to do anything about that, so good instinct for Mariano. I mean, he gets in there, he immediately recognizes the CK can't really get away in time, so jump for a quick kill. And now if you're Parker, you got to be kind of careful too, because yeah, he gets slowed up by the initial stroke of fate. They get that stun down, of course. That means that they have no stun to cancel that TP, but that's Parker all the way back to base, so he either has to walk back to the tower or walk into the jungle. Either way, Infinity take control of the bottom lane.
yeah, it's not really the prettiest. At the same time, they're
Oh
just
no,
playing
alone.
everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. Washbelt goes up onto the high ground, but now Genix here. He's going to drop down the silence. They get the Inkswell to follow it up. Alone still can't channel
Oh,
that Rolling Thunder.
what a timing.
Damn, they cancel it twice in that fight to find the kill, and that's a big one. Infinity really starting to maybe swing some momentum, although PP should have a safety valve here. He doesn't have the mana to jump, however, so okay, just going to have to walk away, but it's Parker on the Medusa, so he can't exactly chase him down.
Yeah, no, it's awkward in the fashion that Infamous are losing a lot of their heroes here, as well as Infinity actually transforming the map maybe a little bit here. I'm looking over at bottom lane, though. Alone looks like he wants to actually use his own Thunder, but I think they need to find Genic. They're bringing in the Pit Lord as well, but it's such a hard kill on the Mariano.
But look at the wide sort of angle Alone had to take. That's not a quick turnaround. They're still looking for the kill, and they honestly should get Mariano. But with PP coming in, this fight's going to get a lot more complicated. That Ember, though, did lose about half of his HP already. They're going to stun him up. He's dropping low. Can he get away? He's going to try with that Sleight of Fist into the jump. And for now, he will fall back, but look at Alone. He wants to push forward. Swashbuckle connects onto 2. Prada's going to get taken down. PP, though, with the Inkswell on him, trying to push back in, but he pushed back into his own death. Alone picks up the double, and now they're going to try and track down Genic. TP coming in from Lumiere, though. Do they really want to fight into the Bloodseeker? He does have the Rupture as well, so someone's not going to be able to run away.
Oh, mana.
Or, yeah, maybe he just doesn't cast anything and literally everyone walks. That's that's not exactly the scenario that I thought was going to go down, ET, but he didn't do the math. He doesn't have the mana.
Yeah, and really, it's just Michael carrying the fight. So many chakras got off there. So many more Pango spells happen. It's why it's the combo. It is the combo you pick with this hero. As right alongside Storm Spirit, right before Storm really got win with those null talismans. This is what you did. And that was without the ultimate from that Keeper of the Light. That was without the heal from Illuminate. They just lost their core players so early on there, and I think maybe if Lumiere has a little bit more mana, and maybe if he shows up to that fight whenever Mariano is actually still alive, it's a tough call to make because you're sitting pretty top just kind of farming, but they get kind of out-rotated and really outplayed on, and during all of that timing, Parker took over mid, he pushed him the wave, your mid tower ate, honestly, a lot of damage, and then he gets to retreat to the jungle. Just so much alone time for the Medusa.
And yeah, I don't know. There's no guarantee that if he ruptures anyone, he gets the kill, but if you rupture someone in that situation instead of using the Blood Right, you might get one kill. Without the rupture at all, you definitely didn't get anything, so we have the benefit of hindsight, obviously, but a little bit awkward for Lumiere. He's still top of the net worth, at least, and there's a play his teammates are trying to make mid. Parker is not an easy kill, though, but they are getting through that mana shield quite nicely, but there's the Illuminate. Parker able to pop some wand charges in Infinity. They don't want to be here anymore, but they might not have much of a choice. PP able to jump away with that Remnant in time, so he's going to be okay. Genic does get stunned by the Chaos Bolt, but by this point, Infinity have really pulled back with everybody. Alone, though, with the Haste Rune is still kind of pushing his way forward. But that's still diving a tier 1 tower. He is going to think better of it, but your Infinity, that is not what you wanted. You hope to get onto Parker. They got him pretty damn low, but pretty low is not a kill. Parker simply gets the reinforcements, falls back, just goes straight into the jungle like nothing ever happened. And Infinity had to commit a lot of resources for no gain.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. Even though it's going to be the main combo between the Caudal and the Pango, Also have Coddle Medusa. That dive doesn't happen because you have that pseudo heal of both giving the Medusa more damage with the Shocker and then healing it up with the Spirit form. All at the same time, Parker gets to kill a 4-stack in the jungle. You don't get any kind of positioning around that area of the map. It feels like right now Infinity, they need to do what they did so well in the first game. They need to get their first batch of items, and then they need to make that play again. Otherwise, you're going to see them kind of struggle here. And, okay, plan to Michael. Might lose the Lich, yeah, but they need to find, I think, more pressure. They actually need to find a way to take out this middle tower in succession. Otherwise, we could see them really start to fall behind here. But they also need to find a way to get Lumiere involved. It's one of their advantages they can play. The Medusa isn't going to show up to the fight. She's going to show up to maybe defend the mid tower, but they need to keep that ball rolling. And I'm watching kind of this dance in the mid lane, but as long as Alone is here to kill the creep wave, it feels like Mariano is just not very confidently able to step up right now.
There's just not a lot of options for them at the... Said Infinity need to try and get some of those smaller items going. They need to avoid that pitfall that they fell into in Game 1 after they got those items, though, where they just seemed a little too hesitant to try and make moves once they had that initial item advantage. So, well, here's hoping that they can maybe recognize a window right now, because Lumiere... I mean, you'd love for him to have this BKB before you go back in, but that BKB's not, you know, 1 or 2 minutes away. It's a little bit further than that. In the meantime, you got Rupture, you have a Maelstrom, so you know you have some damage to work with, and like you said, maybe it's time for Infinity to do more to actively try and get him involved.
Yeah, and I think that's where Mariano may be leaving his lane a little bit too early, kind of laying up the Blink Dagger here, because Infamous are the ones ready to fight now, and Alone might just, yeah, immediately TP out as soon as the Rupture gets traded out. Kill the supports, though.
Oh, the chain!
There it is.
Okay. Chain Frost takes down Michael. Should be able to get Oscar here as well. Okay, Prado sort of yoinks it out from under his teammate, so the Lich picks up both of those kills. But, well, very nicely done. You get the Soul Mine, you get the double ult off, and now maybe there's an opening. Start hitting this tier 1 tower. A is trying his best to be sneaky. Alone and Parker are coming in, though, so even if they do get the kill on the CK, yeah, they got to deal with the rest of this. And Lumiere, no HP, no mana, no way out as he's slowed by that Stone Gaze. And actually, they caught Mariano facing the wrong direction as well, so he was actually stunned. Michael comes in with the slow. Alone needs to sort of come back in for this angle as the TP should get Mariano out. It's a very slow TP, but it still does its work, or maybe it doesn't. No. Oscar able to hit him up with the root. They've got that finished off. The Atos doing some serious work for them. And after all of that, Infinity... And what a series of unfortunate events there. They just wanted damage on the tower, ET. Instead, they lose 3 heroes, they lose their tower, and they really didn't get any of the kills they were looking for. As Alone, speaking of kills, hunts down Genic in the top lane.
He's just the bully. He's just mean. He chased down that kill so long, and even though PP's TPing in, it's really at what cost? I think Mariano got real greedy with his TP there. He wanted to keep that fight going in an engagement where Infamous, having the Coddle, just have the advantage. They want the long fight. They want to get off so many spells in these engagements. And what? That was 5 or 6 swashbuckles, 3 of them in quick succession just because of the Shocker refreshing the cooldown. And you get nothing. You don't really get anything that you wanted there. And you lose Lumiere to start it all off. And I understand the revenge play you want to make. You get 2 kills on deck on the Infamous side. You also dislodge the Pango, but I really think that Alone immediately walking right back at the mid lane must have caught them off guard. I don't think they were ready for how hard of a pushback they were going to get from Infamous. And then Infinity are the ones overstaying their welcome. At least they have a Blink Dagger now finished up on the DK. Got some of that retroactive gold, but unless they find a play in the next few moments here, Infamous are looking at the bigger, scarier items yet again. It's where I do wonder if we're already in the realm of Infinity need to sit back and wait for BKBs, as they do find Parker, but Sanjin Yasha, he's tanky.
And he was able to get that ult off in between, so the Stone Gaze is going to do its work. There's the heal from Michael. They're going to try to turn. Chain Frost bounced not actually all that well, and now here comes reinforcements. Prada dead, Genic dead, DK dead, Mariano down, and it's just a terrible fight for them now. PP has to just basically try and salvage something. He's going to jump away to his Remnant, and don't know if they'll catch him. Michael still has eyes. Does he have a slow coming up? It doesn't really matter. They need to cancel the TP. They're not able to do so. That root comes in just a little too late. Ember will walk away, but they lose 3 teammates, and now, I mean, yeah, there it is. They're going to push into the Roche pit, because why not? They know they can take this pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's one of those secondary aspects of the Pango. The disarm, the armor reduction, it's so obnoxious to play against, and, well, there you go. Aegis got to be up, most likely, onto Parker, and then, well, what? You were not really going to change your game plan on Infinity? You weren't going to burst him? Does he even take it? Wow,
Oh, wow.
that's confidence right there. Saying that, well, if Alone is going to get ruptured 9 times out of 10 and that's the only way he's going to die, oh, we'll give him the first Aegis. Because at the end of the day, this Aegis wasn't really going to change all too much for Infamous's game plan. So, I mean, it's kind of just a terrible situation to be in if you're Infinity, because now the active hero is the one with the Aegis. Now you have to dive past the carry, and you have to look for the Medusa as we lose Genic in the top lane again. Things are kind of spiraling yet again. It just feels like Infinity are losing all control.
And in fairness to the decision-making for Parker, that last fight started with him walking up this ramp into about 4 or 5 heroes and did not die. So I can understand him thinking, you know, maybe I don't need an Aegis at this point. But we'll see just how much that empowers Alone, because as you said, this one's starting to sort of start slipping out of Infinity's hands just like it did in Game 1, and well, we saw the result, right? It only took about 10 minutes to go from slipping away to completely gone.
Yeah, and you also look at Infinity's side and you wonder, do we have damage? Are we going to have enough? I really feel like once you have this BKB on PP, it's probably go time then, right? You have the BKB on the Bloodseeker. You kind of need to start going maybe a little bit sooner here as the Fiend's Gate, Mariano, nice blink. It's just the Arcane Rune. He just has everything. He does so much damage. Arcane Rune plus Chakra Magic. It's just mean. It's just brutal. And at least they get a kill onto A in the mid lane. But again, it's not near building. It's not near anywhere they can go. I feel like the scope of the game has just kind of eclipsed what Infinity were preparing for. And look, the ulti. Here it comes.
Pick. It's gonna get hit. Lumiere drops down the Rupture, so Alone has to sort of pump the brakes for just a moment, but he's still dishing out a lot of damage, and Lumiere's gonna try to just take this fight one-on-one. Oh my god. Very nearly dies there, even with the BKB on. But even though he survives, I mean, you didn't get Alone. That's Rupture used, and even if you had killed him, that would have just been the Aegis, so that would not have stopped the push, and Infamous just feel like they're getting really everything they want right now.
Kind of getting worked, and then you're going to lose this tier 2 mid. You're going to see Infamous kind of reset around. Scotty is going to be next up for Parker, and then you have Sanji, Yasha, Scotty. I feel like Infinity are making some of these adaptations, though. They're going for the creep wave cuts. We're seeing them go for the split push plays in 2 lanes right now. Something that both the DK and the Ember Spirit are very adept at. You just wonder, though, if we ever are going to see an honest fight. Is it going to be Infamous who just kind of find their opponents and just tear them apart? Or is Infinity ever going to look for that type of engagement? Because it feels like they have to be sneaky, and unfortunately, I think Mariano, his time is up. This is just the support's taking him out, but there's absolutely no movement. He's caught for, what, rooted for 7 or 8 seconds there. And they're just TPing across the map. They're just doing Infamous things. They're just looking for their opponents really everywhere. And Lumiere, he's got BKB if he has to TP out here, but oh no. Oh.
Okay. Was able to get the BKB off.
He turned.
Oh no! He was home free, ET. Just keep your back to him and you're fine. Instead, he turns around. I don't even know if that was maybe just one last click that he did to turn his model, but ooh, that's gonna sting that little bit more as Lumiere's on the ground, or on the deck rather, for 35, and I mean, Infinity were already in trouble, but at this point, it's no longer in trouble. This is just desperation starting to set in for them. They need something to turn the tides, and they need it pretty much now.
Yeah, as PB gets forced to pop his BKB defensively in the bottom lane. Maybe get a kill into A? That'd be sick. They've got the Chain Frost. They just need to throw anything out, but
Root coming in, they caught PP and he's dead. Prada tried to go back in to throw out the ult, but he walks into the Illuminate. Michael picks up the rare double on the support Coddle, and now Infamous go right back to work. Yet another objective that should be falling before them, and Well, 22 minutes in, and your high ground is almost certainly going to start getting threatened here. Infinity really look like they've fallen into the exact same situation that they did in the first match.
Yeah, and looking over at Michael, kind of the catalyst for this game, you're gonna have the Wraith Pact as soon as his courier can bring it to him. Then suddenly you don't have any burst damage. You've got 2 melee cores. When it comes to actually taking down that Wraith Pact, it's gonna take so long, and then your damage is gonna come out even slower. Feels like Infamous have the death ball. They've got the heroes they need. Feels like their early game maybe was a little bit too clean. All of the defensive items are pretty much done. I mean, Parker has a Divine queued up right now. We'll see if he actually decides to go for it, but he should feel as unkillable as he really is in this game. He's got Sny, Scotty, and Mariano.
Did
Oh,
he?
he just got his blink disabled.
Jumped in on illusion. That's unfortunate. PP now trying to push in, but there's that Scotty from the high ground going to work. PP gotta sort of find his exit route here. He's gonna be able to fall back, but Oscar just got right into the middle of that fight. That means Genic has to fall back. That means Lumiere couldn't do anything with the ink swell that was on him. That whole play just kind of breaks apart. Infinity, they don't get anything. They don't even get A, who's sitting on just the tiniest bit of HP. I mean, you are giving over the thirst bonuses to Lumiere, I suppose, but Infamous are so far ahead, they really don't seem to care.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately the little misses like that, and they're going again.
Okay.
Round 2.
This time the stun will connect, but Genic's been sort of caught on the back end. Once again, they'll quickly take him down, but over on the other side of the fight, Parker's kind of by himself. He's going to lose his backup alone and Affliction both taken down, and that was the Stone Gaze used, so now Infamous have to kind of fall back. Infinity, though, don't want to let him go. Mariano pushing forward, looking for the stun. They need more troops on the front line, though, and they just don't have it. Mariano is forced to fall back. Prada does throw out a nice Chain Frost that is going to help them take down Oscar, but they still need to deal with the Dusa. Parker continuing to dish out some damage right now. Lumiere, though, wants to ignore him, trying to get onto Michael on the back line instead. They are able to find that kill, but now the reinforcements arrive. Alone and Oscar back into the fight to get the root down. Lumiere and PP both finished off, and it's Infinity who are the ones who have to quit the field. They just can't get that Medusa, and if you can't do that, you can't go any further.
Yeah, and that was really well played. They get really the cuddle first, which is the most important thing. They stop those chakras, they stop any heal. Unfortunately, in that secondary smoke, they don't get anything, but they're not done, and they're diving, and, well, there's your Witch, there's your Frost Armor, so I feel like this should guaranteed at least be 1 Rax now, but that was really, I think, the best team fight they could muster. Unfortunately, Oscar was just so set up. He caught both supports at the beginning with that Pit of Malice, and okay, in. They're going to get the Pango.
That is a dieback from Alone. Nicely done, but again, you got to deal with Parker. Mariano's going to get taken down. PP needs a way out. A little off on the timing from A with that Reality Rift, as PP's still able to jump away. But now, yeah, there we go. They need bodies. Mariano's going to buy back, rejoin the fight. He is TPing into the root, though, so he is actually going to cancel that, but that means Infamous might just be able to finish off that Rax after all. Parker goes back in for it. They are going to be able to take it down. Ranged might not fall, but for Infamous, you don't really care. The melee was the sort of primary target there, and they back themselves away afterwards.
Yeah, they just kind of get to walk out now. They need to be careful, though. Parker actually left the fight, and Mariano is looking, but unfortunately, without a smoke, Fuck these Phantasm Illusions, just going to scout out any play that could be happening right now, so the play won't happen. And at the end of the day, you didn't lose Parker. And Parker did buy the Sacred Relic, so he is crazy. He is, I feel like maybe a more sane player would get the Demon Edge first, but he knows where he wants to take this game, and he certainly won't be damage limited, but that is your way to throw. I mean, give a nice little Divine Rapier over to the Ember Spirit or the Bloodseeker. That'd be a cool turn of events, you know? Might be the only way they actually lose this game, but this is also where if Infinity can catch off these heroes without buyback again, they could still very easily kill the Pango. He's going to have his Lincoln Sphere probably before he shows on the map again, but without items like a BKB or a Blink Dagger, if you can get him before he gets the roll up, then he can actually die pretty easily. He is not kind of that stat king that sometimes we see Pangos turn into. It's actually pretty squishy, so if they could find him or the Pit Ward, honestly, could see the map kind of settle down for a little bit. I think that's where Infamous, though, if they get this Rapier finished up on Parker, if they get another Aegis, they give it over to the Medusa, that could be too much for Infinity to be able to defend.
On the one hand, if you lose a Rapier, you might be in trouble, but on the other hand, Parker's thinking,
well, he's locking it.
What's anybody gonna do about it, right? I'm gonna buy a Rapier. Who's gonna stop me? Which, yeah, fair enough. They're pushing in on a PP right now. He sure as hell is not really going to be able to stop this. He just has to pop the BKB and run, so Infinity at least buys some time. We got 45 seconds for the next Roche, so if you're Infinity, you are very much invested in trying to sort of drag this out a little bit right now, because a fight around the Roche Pit might just be what they need, especially since a fight around the Roche Pit is not a fight in your base that could threaten a second or third lane of Rax.
And, well, let's see. They've got the vision. They just see a Medusa running at them, though. They need to find... Got him.
Okay. Michael's going to get in some trouble here. They're going to stun him up. Can he keep himself alive? He's got 20 wand charges, but he's not going to be able to survive. Lumiere hits him with a blood right. They find that kill, but they've lost their supports. Prada and Genic both taken down. They're going to be losing Mariano here as well. And the Rapier has now been forced out. It was committed. He unlocked that item. So if you're Infinity, congratulations. You have lost the fight, but you do technically now have a win condition, I suppose.
Unfortunately, though, he has an Aegis. Does PP get the steal? This
Doesn't
could be
have
everything.
mana.
Yeah. He's 15 short. There's no timing. If he knew, I mean, maybe you can steal it with the slight. You know, we've seen crazier things from Ember Spirits before, especially with rune snatching, you know, but yeah, it's just not in the cards, unfortunately. That's super sad, because that's what Parker was waiting for. He was waiting if there was any chance of him making a mistake with the Aegis. Well, now he has it. He's not going to be all too scared. People's going to take a lot of damage and dies to that. Well,
He has no buyback. It's still on cooldown. That might just be it. They really aren't going to have as much damage as I think they need here. It's basically going to be Lumiere really doing it by himself, even with the DK back up. He's got a stun and the blink, and that's it. There's just no damage output, and it's Medusa that you have to kill twice who has a Rapier. They don't even care about the other lanes of Rax ET. They just see their opportunity to go for the win.
Yeah, I don't even know what Parker... Oh, he just has a Crystalist now, too? Yeah. No hero can be near Medusa right now, and unfortunately, I think that's where we're very quickly running out of time for Infinity. They gotta go on the back line. They have to find the Kato yet again. They don't have Glyph. They're losing their Ancient. I think the panic's setting in, and yeah, it's not even panic. It's just plainly over. And an end to a run that Infinity really were making work for them. They were hot in the group stage. They were beating teams left and right. Then they eat, I want to say, just 2-2-0s at the end of their run, and then felt like everything just fell apart.
I mean, just becomes so awkward, especially considering we had that sort of big break in between. So maybe people forget or just sort of weren't watching earlier. But yeah, Infinity was looking absolutely like one of the tougher squads in the entire field for this event. And you know, first time around, okay, you run into a absolute buzzsaw in the form of Nouns. That loss is unfortunate, but maybe not unexpected. But this one, just getting beaten down really by a regional rival, that one's going to really hurt for Infinity. They just didn't feel like they were in top form.
Well, and what, they 2-1 Ravens to knock them out. They 2-0 no ping to qualify. They 2-0 wildcard, the top seed. They 2-0 Nouns way back when. And then they just eat 2-0 after 2-0 at the 2-0, all beginning from Infamous actually in that group stage. And then, yeah, it just felt like they lost themselves here. I mean, it was funny in the group stage. It felt like we were always talking to Mariano because he just kept on winning. They just kept on getting their 2-0s, and then we just kind of, it was clockwork at that point. But yeah, it's a sad way to see them go out here. But in the very similar fashion to their previous best of two versus Infamous, Parker could just farm. I think that really was the flaw here in Infinity, is that Lumiere, a player who loves to play that farmer, who loves the Medusa himself, who loves to play the Monkey King when he gets it in his hand, who loves to be that active player, just pushed to the side, I think, and pushed behind Parker in pretty much every situation here, where even when Parker was starting to fall behind, where he gets a few deaths underneath his belt, it's Lumiere who has to make the play. It's Lumiere who has to find 5-10 kills in the span of the game, where he needs to be the one, not only being your hard farmer, but also being your initiator, also being your second man on the door. It's just a job that is almost impossible to fill, and I think that's where, unfortunately, Infamous just do a much better job of setting up Parker than Infinity were actually able to do for Lumiere. It's a sad way to go out, again, because of how hot they were, but man, Infamous, if this is how they're gonna play, I mean, this was a clean victory. This was, I want to say, one of the easiest 2-0s we've seen so far.
And this is how Infamous this is how they kind of operate in these pro series, right? They do a kind of ho hum group stage. You know, they're never quite at the top, but they're always sort of clearly in that middle of the pack. And then the playoffs roll around, and no matter what the roster has looked like, Infamous has sort of kicked it into another gear, as we see really in this series in particular. So they're able to put themselves in that sort of right headspace once playoff time rolls around, once we start getting into elimination games where they take things much more seriously and it pays off.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe if Infinity's bracket looks a little bit different, if they take up wild card again, maybe we see them in the semis right now, going off against Nouns. Maybe this is the worst timeline for Infinity. I mean, they ended up playing versus the two teams that 2-0'd them in the group stage, and unfortunately that results in their elimination. But you would hope they'd be able to make the adaptation. But yeah, it's unfortunate. But hey, at the same time, it's clean from Infamous. It's easy from them. It's an Infamous that I don't even feel like was them firing on all cylinders. I feel like this was just clearly a draft advantage in both games, where it just felt like they knew exactly what they wanted to do. I mean, on paper, right? People are going to look at game 2 of this game and just say, well, Infamous had 4 out of the 5 best heroes in the game. I mean, arguably 5 out of the 5 best heroes in the game, and then they just made it work, where Infinity were kind of grasping at straws here.
Yeah, but when you look at a game where Infamous take a position 5 CK and you say, oh well, they were obviously expected to win anyway, that just kind of goes to show just how well this team plays. They put A on a very strange sort of matchup, player hero wise, and it still works perfectly. They don't miss a beat. So Infamous very strong here. They get the 2-0. They're going to move on to that third round. They are set to play the winner of the next series coming up here. It's going to be Hikori taking on Team Dogchamp. So let's get the chance to sit back, kick up their feet, sort of watch some Dota and wait and see who they will have to play up against. In the meantime, we are still waiting to hear if we're going to have an interview. Right now, it's sort of leaning towards no, but we're sort of keeping the door open just in case. So I believe we are going to step away for that commercial break. If the interview is happening, obviously we'll give you an update and come back on in here for that. But if not, then we will be seeing you guys in the 15 to 20 minutes here. This series going a little early means we got to wrangle Hikori and Team Dogchamp in to actually get that next best of 3 underway. So congratulations to Infamous. We are going to be moving on to either an interview or the next series in just a little bit. So we'll have an update for you one way or the other.